Hi, welcome to this tutorial for OCR's Cambridge Technical in Digital Media, Unit 2, Pre-Production and Planning. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about some key documents and exam techniques to ensure that you get the maximum marks possible in your exam. We're going to focus in particular on these documents in section 4.1 of the syllabus, as this is where the 15 to 20 mark question always refers back to. And we're going to go through each of these documents. I'm going to talk about the importance of context, how to answer that last question in comparing to other key documents, and remind you about diagrams. So let's have a look at some diagrams to start with. So I think this diagram on the left is one of Fime's diagrams. We've referred to this in the past. There's a few things that he does which will definitely gain you marks. He's given himself a title. So here, this is a visualization diagram for the home screen of the 24/7Me app. So he has a title, 24/7Me. He's also got some navigation buttons. And the reason why he's got so many marks is because here it says use annotations to justify your decisions. All over the diagram, you can see he's put things like images to represent people together. And they're close together like a community. Shows the current added users that are online and live to create a room with. He's talked about things like a search feature, logo and company name. So he's really explained what he's going to do, settings and change for color schemes, because different genders may prefer different colors, or actually different personalities may prefer different colors. If we look over here for another diagram, and I'm not sure whose diagram this is, to be honest, but it's another good diagram because he's talking about, he or she is talking about house style and the font. I think this might be Joshua's diagram. So he's called his app Kings and Queens. He's got house style, the font. He's talked about bright colors and been really explicit as to what those colors are, red, yellow, and blue, to attract children aged 7 to 10. So he's linked that back to the target audience. Not only has he got images and videos, but he's explained what that image is of. So it's an image of the Tudors to keep it on topic. Similarly, we're seeing a couple more diagrams here on the left. We've got Harry's. I've given this 8 marks. I think the only improvement would be to make sure that he has a title for this app. So rather than Montage Digital Games, which is the games company, he should really have something like this, where it says "Welcome to Tudor England," or the previous one where we saw a nice Kings and Queens title. He's labeled his images. He's justified exactly what he's going to do and why. So the buttons will be a bright yellow color, and I've said because it's meant to attract children aged 7 to 10. So that's something which could be improved. Yeah. Over here, we've said bright colors to attract kids, e.g., then he's put light blue. He's got a navigation bar. He needs to say what this image is to show. So is it an image of Tudors? Is it an image of a speaker? So that when they click on it, it essentially tells you a bit about the Tudors. I stand corrected. This one is actually Joshua's. So in here, he's made it really clear what his color scheme is. He should really say what the image is of. So in this visualization diagram, he should really explain this is an image of, let's say, a Tudor or historical scene. He's labeled the different kings here. He's called it his app History Kings, a suitable title. He's got a drop-down burger menu. So he's labeled it well. And I think the only thing that he really needs to improve is why he's chosen these colors. Why has he chosen these certain images as well? We're looking at the work here of Sirhat. And once again, I think we've got a navigation bar. It could be spaced out a little better, but he's definitely got relevant images. He's got welcome young Victorians. He's talked about different colors. All the images of the Tudors. He's labeled what the images are of. And really the only thing, I guess, is to make sure that he spaces this out a bit more and to explain what colors he's using, not just what colors, but why he's using those. So annotations all the time. Yeah. Um, I'd say it's really important to remember that the context is paramount. So say, for example, here you've got in the mark scheme, we should always be referring back to these people as we go along. So say, for example, Jason, Keris, and Kamran, we have to refer back to them in all of, particularly for the last question, but any question where it says give an example, you have to give the example, otherwise you won't get the mark. So make sure when you're answering the 20-mark question, you're giving examples relating back to Jason, Keris, Kamran. Remember the wise words of Samuel L. Jackson? Example. Okay, let's have a look at some of these key documents then. At the top left, you've got a visualization diagram over here for a website. You'll notice they've got a navigation bar, which they've labeled. They've explained their color scheme. Well, they've stated their color scheme, but they should explain why. Famous British railway scene to emphasize heritage. So this is like good justification here. It's a pretty decent visualization diagram. Over here, you've got a storyboard. Some of you might think about the things that are missing. Say, for example, scene numbers. So we should really put the scene numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Duration, how many seconds each scene might last. You might also talk a bit more about this music that is playing in the background. What is the diegetic sound and the music that's playing, or what? Sorry, the music that's the sounds that are in the scene, or is there any non-diegetic sound, i.e., a soundtrack, or say waves washing on the shore, which we can't actually see or hear. We can't really see, but we can hear. I wouldn't worry too much about the quality of the drawing. Really, it's in the annotation, talking about the camera angles, the mise-en-scène, the music, and justifying what you've got and why. Yeah, so think about your digital media unit 1 exam there. Over on the top right, you may be asked what a mock-up or a prototype is, and you would just explain that it's a low fidelity. Well, a mock-up is quite low fidelity visualization of what the app might look like. A prototype is slightly higher fidelity, so it's slightly higher in quality, and it would also enable you to click on some of the links and have minimal functionality, whereas a mock-up has no functionality. At the bottom right, we see a a flat plan. You might be asked to do this for a magazine or a booklet. Here you can see that they've planned out the masthead, a cover image, some adverts, where these adverts are going, some double page spreads. They've got page numbers, and really this should also be annotated, as we see in previous work from some of our other students there. Over here, we're seeing, I'd say this is a script. You could say that there's some camera angles here as well, so it could be classed as shooting script. Main thing is you should have a title which says teaser script, EXT for exterior, INT for interior. Tell me where it is, give me some synopsis or leading text, some camera angles which suggest this is a shooting script, and any dialogue, the speaker's name should be in capitals, the rest of it in lowercase. Top right, you've got an asset log. This lists all the videos, images, and sound that might be used in your production, and also any copyright or Creative Commons details to ensure that we're legally compliant. The bottom left, you've got a wireframe. A wireframe is actually a form of visualization diagram. It's very low fidelity. You can't click on it. And yeah, just think about Ruhal's best friend, Ed. When Ed came in and showed us some of those wireframes, there were some deficiencies in those wireframes in that we couldn't really grasp what the videos and images were of until he showed us his mock-up and prototypes, which were a bit higher fidelity. But these are very quick to produce. They're useful in order to show a web designer the layout. So once again, we refer back to our web designer, Jason, and say it'll show Jason how he might lay out certain elements in the web page. It's not in color, so you might need a mood board for that or some detailed annotation. Bottom right, we're seeing a production schedule or a shooting schedule. You've got things like dates, times, interior, exterior, description, characters and roles. The only thing that's really missing is contingency, a contingency plan in case things go wrong. Over here, you've got a call sheet. This is a daily document. You can see that they've written a title call sheet, which you should do if you're asked to draw a call sheet. Write the title, call sheet. That'll get you a mark. Put on some timings on there, some emergency contact details, maybe some risk assessment or weather details, and then some scenes that are being shot. Top left, you're seeing an exemplary shooting script. This is kind of what you would need to be asked, what you'd need to produce if you're asked to produce a shooting script in your exam. There should also be some dialogue in there, some people talking. You see that they've put office, EXT for exterior, building. They've got the transitions here, camera angles here. It's beautiful layout. Top right, we've got a SWOT analysis. This SWOT analysis can only really be completed once the production has kind of begun. So as you've made your, say, prototype, or you've done a first draft, you might have, say, a focus group and ask them to perform a SWOT analysis, or you might do this yourself internally and present this to your client. Over here, we're seeing another visualization diagram for an app. It's very well drawn, it's clear, however, it should be annotated. At the bottom left, we're seeing concept art. I think it's unlikely you'll be asked to draw concept art in your exam because it's quite difficult to do. However, you may be asked why you might use concept art, and it's generally to give animators a very clear, high fidelity image to base their actual animations on. And it might not be exactly the same in real life. So Buzz Lightyear here is not the same as the visualization diagram because some things will be hard to achieve, like to animate. Bottom right, you see a risk assessment. So you've got what is a risk, the likelihood of it happening, and the severity of the risk, how you're going to control it. So like how you're going to mitigate that risk. You may be asked to produce a risk assessment in your exam, and generally there should also be a bit of a risk assessment in your call sheet. You might also have a bit of a risk assessment on a recce as well. So when you go to a site recce, you might have photos of the site, but you also might have a risk assessment of some dangers and some hazards which might appear on a site. Lastly, we've got here, you've got a set design. You may be asked to design a set for a children's TV show. The key thing is here, just to make it clear, have, say, for example, a top-down view, annotate it clearly and say like why it's suitable, maybe a scale as well. A site map, you might be asked to draw one of these. Always put the home page at the top, which can be called home or index.html. Annotate it all in detail and ensure you've got sufficient pages based on the brief. So always refer back to the brief. Lastly, at the top right, you've got a release form. You may be asked to produce a talent release form or a photo release form, a location release form. The key thing is here, you're signing over your intellectual property, your IP, your ownership of that image, of that location to the production company. Sometimes you might get paid, sometimes you won't. And it's so that, you give ownership of the intellectual property, of the IP to the production company, and you can't sue the production company afterwards because they now own your image, your likeliness, your sound, or your video. In summary then, when you're answering these 20-mark questions, remember, give your examples. Always refer back to the context and give those examples. Refer back to Jason or Ingrid, whoever it is, that material that's given to you is possibly the most important document. If you just write everything you know about, say, site structure diagrams, or say site maps, or even um, a visualization diagram or a mock-up, you're not necessarily going to get all the marks unless you refer back to these people here, what they do and how it helps them in that scenario. The only thing that I realize I haven't talked about is proposals and treatments, but I'll add a hyperlink to the video description, which will show you some proposals and treatments, what they are. Effectively, they're somewhat similar to what you did for Welsh Mocha, in that you propose what your film or what your magazine, it's generally a film or a TV show, is going to be about. You talk about the storyline, you talk about some characters, um, and like I said, I'll put some hyperlinks to some high quality treatments and some documents there for you. Hopefully that's been helpful. I wish you all the best. It's been an absolute pleasure teaching you this year. I think we're in a really good position. I think everyone's going to pass. I'm hoping that many of you actually get merits, distinction stars, because we're really well prepared for this exam. I don't think there's any gaps in our knowledge, but hopefully this video will help you. Thanks very much.